This is the Colonial's football pregame show, exclusively on CITV. And now, here's your host, Haiden Haley.
Welcome back to the Colonial's football pregame show. In local sports news for this week, the Sixers continue their quest to get back to 500, doing so without their big man Joel Embiid, who is out with a non-COVID illness and is currently on a day-to-day basis with his health and when he will return. However, they are on a 3-game win streak and entering a 2-game homestand where they will play the Knicks on Friday and the Suns on Monday. The Flyers lost in a tough game on Tuesday at the New York Rangers and play again tonight in Toronto, which is a must-win game for Philly to aid in them asserting themselves in the Metropolitan. The Eagles are coming off their 7th straight win, which took place at the Link on Sunday afternoon against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Birds will play in one of their final primetime games of the regular season on Thursday night at Houston. But speaking of Houston, the Phillies currently lead the Astros 2-1 in the World Series, after a home run derby that took place at the Bank on Tuesday night. The Phils won Game 3, 7-0, and play Games 4 and 5 at home with a chance to win the World Series. And last week, my prediction was correct, but the score was drastically off, again, as I said, 42-38, but the actual score was 56-20, so pretty close. Now, speaking of last week's game, let's break that down right now. On Friday, the Colonials played their last divisional game of the season on the road against Upper Moreland. The game was expected to be a close one, but was clearly in the Colonials' favor from kickoff, as Nazai Boggs took a 92-yard kick return to the house, and within the first 15 seconds, PW was on the board. Next, we go to the halfway through the first quarter, where the Colonials led by 3 possessions. This would get cut down to only 2-touchdown lead, as Sean Herbert is going to hook up with Stephen Broderick for a 55-yard touchdown. Herbert and his friends would march down the field with ease in only 3 plays. Now, if you're a Colonials fan, that might have looked scary, and I would agree with you. But only a few scoreless drives later, Luke Winterbottom broke free into the Moreland secondary, virtually untouched, as he would get tackled into the end zone for the 60-yard score. And to seal the deal, just after halftime, Big Play Boggs made a huge play picking off a Herbert touchdown pass in the back of the end zone, keeping his feet down to give the Colonials the ball. But nothing much would happen after that, as PW just proved to be too much for the Golden Bears, and it was time for the second and third team to play. Winterbottom and Boggs both had 2 touchdowns. O'Brien, Feinberg, and Hannon were not far behind, rushing for 1 apiece. O'Brien would also throw for 3 touchdowns, and Boggs led the pack with an interception. The Colonials would go on to win their 7th straight, 56-20. So to conclude this segment of the show, I'd like to congratulate our very own Colonials football team for being crowned the 2022 American Conference champions. Now this week, I got an interview about last week's game with the offensive line coach, Coach Fry. Now, here's that audio now. How did you use the triple option as an advantage against a very good Upper Moreland team on Friday?
So our triple option is very effective against a lot of the teams that we play. The way that triple option works is that we get to kind of target. Let's say the defensive line has a stellar athlete inside, like a very good defensive lineman, defensive end. We don't have to block that guy. So we pretty much react, read what he's doing, and then it's either you have the option to give the ball to the running back, the quarterback can keep it and run it himself, or the quarterback can fake both and then give it to a pitch key. So the triple option is extremely difficult to defend in high school football. So it's been effective for us all year long.
What adjustments do you guys plan to make as you prepare for the playoffs?
I think it's kind of just like a mentality thing. Resetting our mindset to the fact that it's we're back to 0-0, and we have to play the teams that we play. Obviously starting this week with Sun Valley, just a new mindset that the season restarts this week.
Did you guys gain any confidence from beating a team like Upper Moreland on their home field by 36 points after playing in an easier schedule for the past couple weeks?
I would say that it's definitely a confidence builder for our guys, but we knew we were capable of that outcome. The coaching staff and the players, we all knew what we're capable of, and it's only the start of a couple more weeks.
Describe how it feels to win back-to-back league titles.
It's a great feeling. I mean, these guys worked their tails off in the offseason. By all their hard work and dedication, they make it possible. The coaching staff as well, and we just combined back-to-back years, and we say it all the time from the beginning of the year. I mean, Coach Chang says the Suburban One American Conference runs through Plymouth Whitemarsh, so nothing changes this year.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck.
You got it. Thank you.
So a point I've wanted to talk about for a few weeks now, and I feel like finally I have the most evidence to prove myself, is the Colonials' offense has improved, or is if the Colonials' offense has improved or if we've just been playing scrubs. And the answer to both those questions is yes. Truth be told, we have been playing some bad teams like William Tennant, Springfield, Quakertown, and Wissahickon in a couple of games. But what's interesting about this team, especially this year, is they've used those games to improve because they haven't just been beating teams by, like 14 points, 7 points, and allowing them to score a crazy amount of points. They've been beating all these bad teams, by 30, 40, 50 points and in shutouts for a lot of the times, which I think is very important because when you go up against other teams that have played the same teams, you can go into those games with confidence because if they only beat them by, 20 points in a high-scoring game, you're clearly the better team in that matchup. And the Colonials have done this whether they've been at home or on the road, which I think is great, especially since they're guaranteed 2 home playoff games, and depending on if the lower seeds can pull off the upsets, they'll get more as the 4 seed this year. They've been dominating the run game. Part of that has been because of their great downfield blocking, but it all starts to me with the offensive line. The offensive line is really superbly coached by Coach Fry, who I've gotten a few interviews with, and they really just focus on the basics, which is really where you have to work because this team has just been, when you think about it, the ball starts with the snap. And this team that's very dependable on the run-pass option and triple option, they need that blocking. And this takes me almost into my next point because Haiden O'Brien has improved since last season and even into this season, throughout the season with his pocket presence and how he's not just tucking it and running with it, the ball. He's able to kind of have time to drop back if he wants or roll to his left and right side, mainly it's his right, and keep the scramble alive, which is able to get them a lot more yards than just running it through the pile, obviously. But they have, when they move from the backfield into the front, into the receivers, a lot of those guys are the same guys, and they just have, when they have more running room like that, you just see immediately, which is it's such a good thing to see, all the receivers and tight ends go into downfield blocking, causing them to turn some little plays that we've seen into big scores. And we talked about last week how they're only able to score on big drives, but partially I think that was going back to the first point, which is how the Colonials have been playing bad teams. And some good play designs that we have seen may have just been result of bad defense. Another point I really like is how, and this was really relevant in this past game, is how the Colonials are able to dictate games with their defense. And we've seen this in particularly that Cheltenham game where it seemed like no one was going to score a single point. It was just going to go into overtime at 0-0 when the Colonials actually came out on top 37-6, I believe. Is they don't even have to go back to their defense. They can just use, or go back to their offense. They can just use the defense to dictate how they want their offense to play. They have a lot of their same guys out on the field. 11 men on the field at the time for each team. They probably only run a little less than maybe, like an 17, 18-man rotation, which is great to keep their legs fresh. But, you're able to go no huddle and keep these guys on the field with the same energy and momentum, while a lot of these teams are making big-time switches, switching their line, which could take a lot of time, maybe their secondary if they're all the way at the other end of the field. And that's just one of those key differences that we've seen. We talked a lot about their mental strengths and how they just kind of play a little bit differently. But within that play style is how they run when the ball's not in play. And I think that is something huge that not a lot of teams do because they'll take the game slower. They'll try to manage the clock. But the clock just seems to find the Colonials sometimes. And I think that's important not to worry about if you can control the game. Now, on that note, we're going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Are you interested in seeing what's underground? Well, you're in luck. Crystal Cave is the one-stop shop for everything in rocks and minerals. You can head to Crystal Cave any time of the week, rain or shine, all year long. There is much to do even if you don't see our cave. mini golf, panning for gemstones, and a gift shop. If you're looking on how to get there, just type into your GPS 963 Crystal Cave Road or call 610-683-6765. Again, that's 610-683-6765 or on our website crystalcavepa.com.
And now, back to the Colonials football pregame show with your host, Haiden Haley, only on CITV.
Welcome back to the second half of today's show. The Colonials find themselves in the first round of the PIAA state playoffs again for the second year straight, with Aiden O'Brien being behind the snap. But this year they are the 4 seed instead of the 5 seed. In all fairness, the Upper Dublin Cardinals were the 4 seed last year, and this year they're the number 1 seed. Just to kind of put that into perspective for you guys. The Colonials take on Sun Valley High School at home this Friday at 7 p.m. PW has clinched 2 guaranteed home games if they make it to the second round. Now, looking more into their opponent, the 13th-seeded Vanguards enter the playoffs with a record of 5-5 throughout 10 weeks of football. They are 3-4 in the conference with a conference win percentage of .429. They are 3-2 at home and 2-3 on the road. Now, I also got a chance to speak with the left tackle, Nate Mascio, so let's listen in on that. What part of your game was clicking for you on Friday?
I don't think it was just one part of the game. I feel like every part, run game and pass game wise, we were clicking on all sides of the ball. We were moving the ball up and down the field very smoothly, and it's just what we do. So,
as a leader on the team, how would you describe the importance of the team win that you guys had against Upper Moreland?
It was very important. We were going into that game the whole week just hoping, not I wouldn't even say praying. We were just hoping that our hard work was going to pay off, and it did. So,
as a senior, is there any pressure or nerves for you entering this playoff game on Friday?
None. We're just, like I say in all the other interviews, we're going to come into this week going head-to-head every single practice and not let up, leave everything out on the field every practice, and it'll show in playoffs. I guarantee it. So,
thank you, Nate. Good luck.
Thank you.
That was some nice incitement there by Nate. It was really good to get a chance to talk to him again over these past couple weeks. And now I think I'm going to have to take the Colonials in this one on Friday, 56-21. I think the Colonials will continue their hot scoring streak, owning all parts of the field. I have the Vanguards scoring a little more than our fans would usually like because they do outscore the Colonials in first and third quarter points by a margin of 2. This could fluctuate, however, as the home crowd will have a huge advantage for PW, as Sun Valley does not play too well on the road either. The Colonials have been playing really solid defense, but even more like a team on offense, special teams, and defense have been playing at an all-time high. So that can and should give PW an edge. Now, we won't know the true outcome of the game until late Friday night, so stay tuned as kickoff starts at 7 p.m. And make sure you turn into PWHS Sports Live for all your Colonial sports news and updates, as we should be covering that game as well. Now, that is all the time we have for today. Remember to send me your sports hot takes so we can discuss them on the show. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed. And from the Plymouth White Marsh High School and the CITV studios, this was Haiden Haley signing off.